If you see something that reminds you of somebody, bring it to them. What? You know, out of the blue. Somebody from where you're past that you haven't seen for a while. It's great. And maybe it's just me, but I hope not. I hope it happens to all of us.
Next, we're going to hear from Denise what she's going to be looking for in Rich's speech.
The title of Rich's speech is 2 words, and he is giving an icebreaker today in the Pathways booklets. Since he is pretty good at doing these speeches, I wouldn't say that this is his new member introduction, but he is going to be giving us a speech with clear beginning, body, and end. He can use notes if necessary, and he's not to be concerned about gestures. It is encouraging and point out the speaker's strong points while gently and kindly mentioning areas that could be improved. His speech is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Rich Briner. He is a distinguished Toastmaster. He is a member of 3 Toastmaster clubs here in Great Falls. He retired from full-time teaching at the University of Great Falls in 2016 after 25 years. He is a 3-time world champion of public speaking finalist. He says he's a re-fired professor and that, in retirement, he has nearly expanded his classroom. Speaking on 2 words, Rich Briner. Rich Briner, 2 words.
Raise your hand if you've ever been 6 years old. There I was, 6 years old, sitting in the back seat of my dad's Plymouth station wagon. I had my arms around our family dog, Spot. Now, Spot was very proud today because he was about to graduate from dog obedience school. In the front seat, my mom turned to Dad and said, "Dick, how long have we been doing this?" Dad said, "Oh, 1 night a week for the last 10 weeks. Suddenly, in the back seat, I leaned forward. "Dad, can I go to obedience school too?" "Rich, why would you want to go to obedience school? That's only for dogs." "So you'll pat me on the head and say, 'Good boy.'" As a kid, did something like this ever happen to you? Whether we're 6 or 60, do any of us ever outgrow the need for some appreciation? There I was, 35 years old. I had to move home to my parents' house for 3 long months. It was awful. I later found out my parents were saying, "It's awful." One morning about 7 o'clock, my dad is on his way to the bathroom and he sticks his head into my room. It is total chaos. There's a 3-piece suit hanging on the doorknob. Laundry piled high, blocking the closet door. My mom always had a rule: "Richie, you can come home anytime you want, but if you come home, you got to do your own laundry." And there it sat, piled high. On the floor, marking the hardwood, were my sweaty, wet running clothes from the night before, making a spot. My dad looked around at this chaos and he said, "Rich, why do you do this?" And he left. Well, being the 35-year-old adult that I was, I felt guilty. And that night I went downstairs, I washed the clothes, folded the clothes, brought them upstairs, put them away. I cleaned up the room, wiped up the spot. I even put a flower in a vase on the nightstand. Whew! You know, the next morning, My dad is on his way to the bathroom again. He sticks his head into my amazing, awesome, clean room. He looks around and he says, "Rich, why do you do this?" And I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "You left the light on in the basement all last night." And he was gone. I'm reminded of 2 words by Dale Carnegie in a poem. Once I did bad, that I heard ever. Twice I did good, and that I heard never. Yeah. Now, I'm not picking on my dad. I mean, there's a whole lot of my dad in me. All I wanted him to say was 2 words. Good job. 2 words. Yeah. You know, I was lucky to join Toastmasters the first year I was a teacher back in 1973. And one of the things that I learned in Toastmasters is say good job before you say what's wrong, basically. Our evaluators today are going to say 3 good things about John and me and then make 1 suggestion on how to improve. That's the guideline. Well, recently, not too recently, but I got a phone call from my mother. My mother said, "Rich, this is your mother. Your father is graduating Sunday from Eucharistic Ministry School. It is a big deal. It's down at St. John's Cathedral in downtown Cleveland. The bishop is going to be there, Rich. It would be nice if you could be there." I drove the 60 miles. I got there a little bit late, went into the cathedral, sat in the back, and watched as my dad was up in the sanctuary with some other men getting pinned for this Eucharistic ministry program. I was really proud of my dad. And as I sat there and watched the ceremony, I flashed back to a time when the situation was reversed. I was in the 8th grade. I was an altar boy at St. Clement's Grade School. And the altar boys have different stages that you get. And I was getting an award as a Grand Knight. And they pinned this little badge on me. And I remember looking out into the audience and I could see my dad sitting in the front row. And I knew he was proud of me. And I remembered that as I sat there in the back of the church. He never saw me, and I went outside, and when the service was over, I was standing on the church steps, and my dad came out, and he saw me, and he was surprised. I walked over towards him. He walked over towards me. I looked him in the eye, and I said 2 words. Good job. And he came over to me and he hugged me. And he said, "Rich, I love you." And I said, "Dad, I love you too." 2 words. 2 words. The power of praise. It only takes 2 words. Good job.
Icebreaker for the 30th time.
You had me off guard there.
Okay, Zach, can we please have the times on the speeches?
And for John Huber, 7 minutes and 48 seconds. And for Rich Briner, 7 minutes and 20 seconds.
Perfect. Can you guys send your votes around for the best speakers?
I'll concede.
Kill the time.
Okay, so as you guys know, the second part of the meeting is when we have to learn to speak and think on our feet. And it is going to be, Table Topics today is going to be led by none other than Justin. I think this is probably going to be your very first time doing something like this, right?
That it is.
Awesome!